Okay, so I don't think the job market is cooked. I did think it was cooked, but then when I start to think about it in the first person principles, it's easy to start seeing that it's probably not cooked, it just everything is changing. So with I guess it's probably around 100 or more thousand layoffs in the tech sector, mainly like the big tech companies, FANG, whatever you want to call it, like Meta, Google, Microsoft, and all those companies. It makes it seem like there's just no more jobs out there. On top of the layoffs, it also seems like AI could actually now do the jobs of software engineers. So what will happen to all the engineers like us, you know? And to make it worse, you got to think a lot of the entry-level workers are people coming out of university, which I graduated my master's 2 years ago about. So I have a little experience over them, but I wouldn't say a whole 10 years experience like some of these companies are requiring. But basically, they can't find any entry-level jobs, or you can't find any entry-level jobs. So what are you really supposed to do? And the reason I could see that could make it feel like the job market is totally cooked, like there's no more jobs out there, there's no more opportunities. But then the whole thing is changing. So first off, you got to think a lot of the industries that didn't have a lot of tech people before, they wanted tech people, but everyone wanted to go to the big companies, you know? So this gives more opportunities for these other companies to sort of distribute some of the technical wealth in a way, you know? So everyone has an opportunity to have some engineers on their team. Secondly, and one of the major things, if you think in first principles in a way, I'm not sure if I'm quite using that term right in this scenario, but basically, my dog, he's just bothering me today. I made him run a hill and now he's trying to make me run a little bit farther before I record this. I don't even know if the audio will work. But you got to think, like back in the day when they had calculators, you had mathematicians who had to do all the numbers and all the counting and everything. And then you had calculators, so you'd think, like, what's the point of these mathematicians, right? Like, if you could just plug numbers in the calculators. But with someone who actually has a deep understanding of how things work, e.g. the code, that's why I don't think AI is basically going to take over the job market. Because here's a good phrase. Would you rather hire someone who knows how to code and use AI? B, hire someone who just knows how to use AI, or C, hire someone just who knows how to code. So the order I'd put those in is, first, of course, I'd rather have someone who knows how to code and knows how the LLMs are built, and that'll help them have the best prompts and use it and actually be able to debug. Because the problem about all these like vibe coding tools like Lovable, and I can't remember what the new one is, and all of them, is everyone always comes to me who's not a coder saying, oh, coders are cooked, but then they run into these bugs that they don't know how to fix, and I'm back fixing the issues, whether it's like trying to set up their database, or the biggest problem it seems like for these no coders is just how to publish and like set up CI/CD with their GitHub repos. And then a lot of them come to me with security issues, like are worried, hey, is there any place they'll be using like full front-end code, and they'll be worried about, do I have any security flaws in my code? And of course, they're having their API keys that they shouldn't in their front-end code, which is a big flaw. But yeah, so that's what sort of gets me, where it's like, I think the future is, yes, AI is here to stay, and it could definitely make coding faster. But what I see is this way, companies always needed more and more coders because there's always more work to do, more ideas to test, more markets and abundance and all that. So the way I see it is, if there's infinite work and now developers could go 10 times faster, there's still going to be a huge need for developers as time goes on, or at least for now. Maybe in 10 years we could or maybe 5 years or less, we could come back to this subject and talk about it. But I know Salesforce and some other companies are stopped hiring tech people and engineers completely. And other companies said, hey, if you can't do this job with AI first, then we could focus on hiring people. But I think that's just a quick way now to basically get higher margins, because if you could fire off some tech people you're paying $200 to $300 or more $1,000 a year, and you hire every 10 of those is a few million, like $2 or $3 million you're saving for the company. Let's say you could save a lot of money and increase your margins pretty quick. The problem is, I see eventually they're gonna want new features. Like, I know they're making all these AI agents over there, and Microsoft, the whole point is it's a software company. So how are you gonna have a software company without software engineers? So we'll probably end up getting the jobs of some of these other project managers, because yes, it's good when you could manage people as project management, but when you're going on and like managing AI assistants, it's going to be a little bit different. You'll want someone who knows how to code and the ins and outs of that. So all this is basically a long rant, so I could practice talking and public speaking and just like being on video and talking about the issues, because the biggest issue I've been having right now is applying to jobs. But I won't say it's over, because in the last 2 months I had 3, and my 4th interview is on the 30th in about a week. So I've been able to get interviews, but it's not through the job application method, like where you just go and mass apply. The way I got it is basically networking. So going to a lot of networking events where I connected with some people who had different startups around the area. And that was a good way I could get my foot in the door with some interviews, because I haven't interviewed in so long that I just started taking each interview like practice, because I wasn't sure what they're even going to be interviewing for. For instance, in the interviews, I sort of expected them to be just using AI to get these jobs done, but they're actually still having coding interviews, like data structures, algorithms, how to use SQL and commands, what's back end, front end. So that's why I sort of had to go back to the basics and say, hey, I've been using AI coding for so long in these last 2 years, just sort of telling it the architecture I want and then building that out. But the problem is I sort of forgot all the nitty gritty. For instance, Python, how to do different regex commands, how to basically just do all the simple basic procedures, which everyone should know, which I do know. It's been so long. It's sort of like, I wouldn't say riding a bike, but maybe like driving stick or something. You just need to remember how to feather the clutch a little bit. So yeah. So basically I'm gonna go this way so my dog stops trying to tell me where to go, so I could actually focus. But yeah, so all this is I know everywhere out there is saying the job market's cooked, and you watch all these YouTube videos, but you got to think the YouTube videos are almost always a little negative, so they basically get people to watch and get that fear so people watch the next ones. But then I've been starting to think maybe it's not actually cooked. If you actually look, people are getting interviewed, people are still getting jobs. It just got a little bit tougher, I guess, in the last years when they're just hiring everybody because the market's changed. But that's not to say there isn't opportunities out there. It just, you got to look at the opportunities in different places and learn that the stack changed. Like, in a way, you could see it as just another coding language, you know? Like, before, people used JavaScript, and then they switched to like React, and now a lot of people want to use Next.js. So you got to think AI is just another thing to add to the stack. But the problem is they want to know how you think, so they want you to know the basics. So that's why you still need to know Python, basically. So in all, this whole video is to say you have a chance. And if you guys don't think you have a chance, then you probably won't have a chance. It's sort of like the saying, the person who thinks he can do it is right, and the person who thinks he can't do it is also right. So it's sort of all a mindset. So I hope you guys the luck or the best on your guys' job search journey, or whatever you guys are trying to do. I would say just force yourself to get out of the house, go to some networking events and meet some people. And yeah, so we're at Point Defiance. If you look out, you can see the water, and then Buddha's about done. So I'm gonna call that a video today. If you guys like, comment, subscribe. Peace out.